SLT Fibre and experience the power of fibre technology. Sri Lanka's only super fast internet connection. SLT Fibre. Call 1212 now.
Another shocker. PSC hears that STF Commandant was never party to weekly security coordination meetings.
Every Tuesday, intelligence and various organizations meet. STF has never been a part of that meeting.
It's nothing. Minister of Foreign Affairs whitewashes his secretary.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs routinely receives from the UN a list of persons that the visiting special rapporteur wishes to meet.
The opposition, however, is not buying it.
And are you going to say this type of interference is normal?
Another one of Gotabe's legal travails. Supreme Court prevents trial at Special High Court against the former Defence Secretary until October. Trump's border meeting has not worked. North Korea conducts another missile test. All that and much more coming up on First at 9 this Thursday, the 25th of July, 2019.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
මුහුණ සති කීපයකට කලින් Fair and Lovely men ගෑවට පස්සේ මාක්ස් අඩු වෙලා ෆෑනස් වැඩි වෙලා.
මාක්ස් අඩු කරලා ඔයාගේ ෆෑනස් ස්ටෑන්ඩඩ් එක වැඩි කරගන්න. Fair and Lovely men anti marks cream.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Eknagar. Let's take you straight to our local stories. Director of the State Intelligence Service Senior DIG Nilantha Jayawardena has reportedly given a 4-hour statement to the Parliamentary Select Committee probing the Easter Sunday attacks at an undisclosed location last night. Deputy Speaker Ananda Kumarasiri said today that the committee recorded this statement until 1 this morning. Media, however, was not privy to the session. In the meantime, Commandant of the Police Special Task Force, Senior DIG M.R. Latif, told the committee today that he has never been invited to the weekly intelligence coordination meetings even after the Easter Sunday attacks. He added that it was only after the attacks that he was invited to the National Security Council meetings.
In about April, did you receive any information or other directive from the IGP about possible attack?
There was a letter which had been sent to the Inspection of Police by the then Chief of National Intelligence. I received that letter on the 9th of April 2019, which had one annexure signed by Mr. N. Cesar Mendes. The IGP had given written instructions, had only written as FNA, which in police jargon means for necessary action.
On the 20th, did you have any conversation with anybody about this matter?
On the 20th, I called the Director SIS.
So on the 20th, you got back to the SIS chief with regard to your findings regarding that Scooty blast.
Same, yeah.
Did you have any other conversation with anybody else about this?
No.
You were not given any other information?
Call was in relevance to the 16th blast.
16th blast only. Because he wanted to get my opinion as to what it's all about, what sort of explosive I've used, what could be the possibility of this thing.
Mr. Latif, you told us what steps you took after receiving this letter from the IGP. Would it be correct to say that you took it very seriously, right?
Yes, I took it seriously because in this alleged plan of attack, then if it's top secret, it's about information received, not intelligence received. We are looking at suicide attack, weapon attack, knife attack and truck attack. It spoke that the law enforcement agencies should be vigilant on the information.
Did you treat it as mere information or some vague possibility or?
There was an annexure which was attached. When I went through that information, I knew that the font and this thing, and it was typical of outside agency who had passed information. So my inference was that there might be something behind it for them to share it. One of the maxims is that you have to ensure the protection of a principle, that is the dignity, even with or without prior intelligence. So the due priority was given and my responsibility, because we are providing security to the VIPs or His Excellency the President, Honorable Prime Minister, and this is so I thought I should. I was under the influence that they had more information on these 6 subjects whom they are reflected that they would have definitely shared. But subsequently I learned there was other annexures which have been shared of more details of these 3.
With whom?
With other agencies, but I had got only one annexure. If I had got more details, for example, subsequent to the attack, there were more specific details which were shared from police headquarters, for example, about the organization, about what they are up to, addresses. Then I realized that there was a wealth of information on the organization, on the individuals, available with the organizations where preventive action could have been taken.
And from the annexure to the document, not only are the types of attacks, but also the possible targets also have been detailed. Churches.
Yeah, they are told only about one specific target, the Indian High Commission.
Yeah, Indian High Commission, churches and hotels.
Targets some important, not about hotels. It's also revealed that they are planning to target some important churches.
Right. Now you took the initiative to check with the Indian High Commission. You did not do anything about the churches.
One thing, there are no specifics.
Right.
The other thing is that if there are a requirement, this thing, the IG makes a request, or the senior DIGs make a request concerning assistance of the STF. I was under the influence saying that the territorial policing will attend to the churches.
Neither the IGP nor the senior DIG Western Province made any request of you for STF assistance.
And the other thing is that I know for a fact that every Tuesday intelligence and various organizations meet to review on a lot of things. The STF has never been a part of that meeting.
What would you say about the Eastern Province DIG not being sent that note?
Actually, in the backdrop of the 16th attack, this information should have been shared with the senior DIG Eastern Province as well. If the headquarters, if IG knew that the backdrop of these gentlemen, because all of them are originating from the Eastern Province.
We have evidence before this committee that says that there was an intelligence coordination meeting that was held on the 9th of April. You were not part of that meeting.
No, no.
You were not even invited for that meeting.
Not even to date, I have not been invited.
Even now, intelligence coordination meeting, STF is not invited. But on the ground, on operations on this, you are heavily involved. So how do you, they have information that they share at that meeting to which you are not privy and you are expected to act in the dark. Have you requested that you be present?
Now everyone says that the STF should have prevented it. But for the STF to act, STF should have the actionable intelligence, and STF request should be made by those who have the information.
In view of the fact that churches, possible attacks on churches were specifically mentioned, were any steps taken in regard to that in the Eastern Province?
No, not specifically. If they had an issue where these National Tawhid Jamaat were active, hyperactive, then they would have told, okay, get involved. Or we would have got involved either independently or jointly. But the fact remains is that once the 21/4 happened, this tragedy happened, a lot of information. And we have acted. We have acted because we didn't wait till this thing came.
So coordinated security information has not been shared, and that has been one of the major causes.
No, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that why only after the incident they shared it with the STF.
So you were on record saying that even now you're not invited into the Security Council.
On the 23rd, after that I was invited.
Yeah. Intelligence sharing, you don't.
Intelligence
coordination meeting, I have never been invited to date.
Before the 21st, were you invited for the Security Council meetings? No.
In the meantime, former Inspector General of Police N.K. Langakorn also testified before the Parliamentary Select Committee today. He insisted that Sri Lanka Police, that is, does not have to consult the Defence Minister on matters related to public harmony, as all necessary powers in that regard are vested with them through the police ordinance.
ප්‍රහාරය එල්ල වෙන්නේ කුමන ස්ථානයටද කියන එක ස්ථිරව නිශ්චිතව සඳහන් වෙලා තිබුණේ නැති නිසා මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් සියලුම නිලධාරීන් දැනුවත්ව සිටීම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය කරුණක් කියන එකයි මගේ අදහස. අවම වශයෙන් මේ ජ්‍යෙෂ්ඨ නියෝජ්‍ය පොලිස්පතිවරුන් 9 දෙනාවත් මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නිසියාකාරව දැනුවත් වීම අවශ්‍යයි කියන එකයි මගේ අදහස.
ආරක්ෂක ඇමති වැනි අය එළ ඉන්න අය ඒගොල්ලෝ දැනුවත් තිබිය යුතු තිබුණාද?
පොලිසිය භාර ලේකම්වරයා ඒ වගේම පොලිසිය භාර අමාත්‍යවරයා දැනුවත් කිරීම ඒ අදාළ බලධාරීන්ගේ වගකීමක් විය යුතු පැතුණා කියන එකයි මගේ අදහස.
ඒකට යාන්ත්‍රණයක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ නේද?
මා දන්නා තරමින් ඒ යාන්ත්‍රණය ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමේ වගකීම පැවරෙන්නේ ඒ අමාත්‍යාංශය. සහ පොලිස්පතිටත් මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් යම්කිසි වගකීමක් තියෙනවා. ඔහුගේ ලේකම්වරයා සහ ඔහුගේ අමාත්‍යාංශයේ භාර අමාත්‍යවරයා දැනුවත් කිරීම.
මෙවැනි බරපතල බුද්ධි තොරතුරක් ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශයේ ලේකම්වරයා හෝ ඊට සම්බන්ධ නිලධාරියෙක්ගෙන් පොලිස්පතිවරයාට ලැබුණාට පස්සේ පොලිස්පතිවරයා ඒක සම්බන්ධයෙන් අදාළ අමාත්‍යවරයාගෙන් විමසිය යුතුද?
කිසිම අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ. පොලිස් ආඥා පනතේ 56 වෙනි වගන්තිය යටතේ මහජන සාමයට අදාළ සියලු කටයුතු සිදු කිරීමේ බලය පොලිසියට පැවරලා.
Do you presently hold any position as advisor to the Ministry of Defence or anything like that?
නැහැ ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමනි. දැනට මම ඒ තනතුරක් දරන්නේ නැහැ. මම 2019 අප්‍රේල් මාසයේ 29 ඉඳලා 2019 ජූනි මාසයේ 13 වෙනිදා දක්වා ඒ තනතුර දරුවා. ජූනි මාසයේ 13 වෙනිදා මම ඒ තනතුරෙන් ඉවත් වුණා.
Now moving on with other local stories, the acting Foreign Secretary's letter requesting a meeting to be organised for the visiting UN Special Rapporteur on the rights of freedom of association and peaceful assembly, Clement Nyalazozivul, with the Minister of Justice, Chief Justice and Colombo High Court judges directed to the Secretary of Justice caused ripples, with it being heavily criticised in Parliament yesterday. Today, however, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tilak Marapana, moved to give clarification on the letter in question, albeit the opposition did not seem convinced.
Before each such visit is undertaken, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs routinely receives from the UN a list of persons that the visiting Special Rapporteur wishes to meet. With regard to the current visit, the same procedure was followed from the letter from the Acting Secretary Foreign Affairs. Nowhere has it been recommended that the appointments sought with the Honourable Chief Justice or the Honourable Judges of the High Court in Colombo should be granted. We are mandated by the rules that govern the visits of the special mandate holders to try to get those appointments for them. It is left to the person whom we communicate with to decide for themselves whether they should grant the interview or give some reason why they can't grant the interview. The Judicial Service Commission, having considered the ministry letter, consulted the Honourable Chief Justice who granted the appointment. The Honourable Chief Justice, when he granted this appointment, he had granted the appointment to meet these High Court judges along with himself, so that I take it that he was making sure that nothing unorthodox would happen at that meeting, because he would be in a position to monitor everything. Some members of Parliament had sought to show that the Acting Secretary Foreign Affairs, his letter was an interference with the judiciary and also was in contempt of court. Neither of these assertions are true.
Honourable Dinesh Gunawardena.
The issue is direct involvement with the proceedings of 4 cases and Honourable Minister. You must read the letter. Read the letter. It says, and other matters. Summoning the High Court judges and the Supreme Court judges, judge or asking for an appointment specifically in relation to a matter that is already sub judice. It is in the process before courts. And are you going to say this type of interference is normal action of the Foreign Ministry? Very sad. If you are going to maintain that position, the officer is answerable today. The Speaker has summoned, Speaker has warned him, and Speaker, he has apologized to the Speaker already. So there's no explanation.
What I say is that there has been absolutely no interference with any case or any judicial officer. Person never wrote to the Chief Justice saying that the Special Rapporteur wants an interview with you to talk about these cases. Nor did he write to the judges saying that is...
Honourable Dinesh Gunawardena.
If you read that document, you will
Speaker
find...
went through this and made his order.
There is nothing...
You are challenging the Speaker now.
There is nothing in that document. Cases are mentioned because that letter is addressed to the Secretary Justice. And the Secretary Justice...
I think we should take it up at the party leaders meeting and decide on a debate.
මාරපනවතුමා මම ඔබතුමාගෙන් අහන්න කැමතියි ඔබතුමා කිව්වා මේ කේසස් ගැන මොකුත් සම්බන්ධයක් නැහැ කියලා. බොහොම පැහැදිලිව තියෙනවා these cases incidents made the following. death of Mr. Hossein Chanaka, protests at Valikata prison. මේ සියලු cases ගැන අහන්නේ.
ඔය ලියුම කාටද ආමන්ත්‍රණය කරලා තියෙන්නේ? කාටද ආමන්ත්‍රණය කරලා තියෙන්නේ?
Secretary Justice.
Is it addressed to the Honorable Chief Justice?
No, Secretary of Justice. Normally we know what is happening. They normally go through the Secretary of Justice. And Secretary of Justice will summon the registrar and discuss all these matters. That is how it happened.
ඊයේ මේ කතානායකතුමා එහෙම ප්‍රකාශයක් කෙරුවා නම් එතුමාට හරි කරුණු ටික ඔබතුමාලා හරියට ඉදිරිපත් කරලා නැහැ. ඒකයි වැඩේ. දැන් තමයි මම මේක හරි කරුණු ටික ඉදිරිපත් කරුවේ.
The Supreme Court today issued an order preventing a trial at Special High Court against former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa over the DA Rajapaksa Museum case until the 31st of October. The order was delivered by a three-member judge bench of the Supreme Court consisting of Justices Buwana Kaluihare, Gamini Amarasekara and S. Thureraja, considering an appeal filed by the former Defence Secretary. The case against Gotabaya Rajapaksa and 6 others was filed by the Attorney General for allegedly misappropriating state funds amounting to 33.9 million rupees during the construction of the DA Rajapaksa Museum and Memorial in Madamulana. The decision prevents the Permanent High Court at Bar from hearing the case until the Supreme Court's ruling is delivered. The Cabinet of Ministers has given the go-ahead to appoint a committee under the chairmanship of Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tilak Marapana, to submit facts to the Cabinet in introducing an effective legal framework for counter-terrorism by studying such laws available in other countries, including the United Kingdom. The proposal was put forth by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, focusing attention in the areas of temporary restriction of orders, prohibition on encouragement of terrorism, and control of being in designated foreign area and biometric data. The Cabinet, meanwhile, also approved the proposal by Minister of Foreign Affairs John Amaratunga to re-implement the pilot project of granting free on-arrival tourist visa to 45 countries with the objective of boosting tourism. The Cabinet previously decided to suspend the introduction of free on-arrival tourist visa owing to the Easter Sunday attacks. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Iceland, the Philippines, Russia, China and India, as well as England, are the new additions to the list. Moving on with other stories, the association dubbed People's Intellectual Assembly calls on public to end relying on political figures to rectify the country's issues and instead put faith in the country's religious leadership to guide it away from trouble. Its convener, Attorney at Law Krishmal Varnasurya, made the remarks speaking at a media briefing in Colombo yesterday.
Reasons we see that there is a lack of leadership, political leadership in the country. There is a vacuum that cannot take this country forward. We feel that it is time for us to look at a third alternative, not a political choice. It is enough that we have gone beyond politics and politicians and expect a political figure to give us the future that we aspire to. Since independence, we have gone behind green, blue or red politics, brought them in to form a government, but our state has not been built. It is time that we thought of a policy-based approach to build the state, to build our judicial system, to build our health system. If we have a policy and a state policy for all of this, anyone who comes will have to flow on this track, just like other developed nations. We are behind the religious leadership that has suddenly arisen to fill the vacuum. We have the leadership by His Eminence Madcom Cardinal Ranjit. We have the leadership of the Mahanayaka Theros of the chapters, and they have told the country that they are willing to come forward and gather Sri Lankans together. Do not be an armchair critic that comes and votes once in every 5 or 6 years.
Dr. Seygu Shihabdin Mohammed Shafi of the Kurunagala Teaching Hospital, who was in remand custody, was released this evening on a cash bail of 250,000 rupees and 4 surety bails of 2.5 million rupees each. Security was beefed up in and around the premises of the Kurunagala Magistrates Court prior to the case was taken up, as the doctor who was in the custody of the CID made his second court appearance. AdaDerana reporter on the ground also said that the Attorney General's Department did not counter-argue the magistrate's bail decision. Dr. Shafi was remanded over multiple charges involving terrorism, money laundering and the sterilisation of mothers during caesarean operations. The CID, however, previously informed court that no evidence was found in relation to the doctor being linked to any terror activities. We have more news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is critical of the bureaucratic red tape that potential investors have to cut through when attempting to do business in Sri Lanka. Unveiling the new building complex of the Ministry of Home Affairs this morning, the Premier insisted that the government's approval mechanism must be far more efficient if Sri Lanka is to successfully become an export economy. We need a mega city to become the hub of the Indian Ocean, and it cannot be done with small cities. The mega city we are referring to is to be established in these provinces. Our economy is developing by the day in the aftermath of the Easter attacks, and by September or October, things will return to normalcy. From now on, we have to move towards modernization. Sri Lanka should be made an export economy. We cannot move forward with a low-income economy. We have the highest per capita income in the region. We face many problems on our way to an export economy. Investors return to their countries in disappointment due to the government's slow process in granting approval. We should think anew as to how we can develop our administration to cater to these needs. Establishing a hub isn't difficult, but we now have to establish efficient district offices. The port city was taken over for it to be transformed into an international financial hub in a bid to direct the country towards an export economy. If two countries engage in transactions at the port city, we will provide them with tax concessions. It will play a pivotal role in the concept of export economy. Chief Executive Officer of Sri Lankan Airlines Vipuna Gulatilaka reveals that China, Japan and the United Kingdom are the major markets which were affected by the Easter Sunday attacks. During an interview recently, he went on to say that although the situation is such, Middle Eastern destinations and Indian markets have been holding on. The CEO of the national carrier also gave a positive outlook on the future of the airline, adding that the special offers extended to boost demand is doing the job.
Just to start with, according to the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, last year the tourism industry contributed $5 billion towards the GDP. So this year they are expecting it to come down by about $1.5 billion. So that would definitely have an impact on our passenger numbers as well. Based on the preliminary estimates, we expect about $100 million dip in revenue altogether. This includes tourism as well as other passengers coming in.
The CEO of Sri Lankan Airlines, Vipula Gunathilaka, then spoke about the delay in the implementation of the proposed business plan of the airline, designed to span across 3 to 4 years.
Yeah, it would be 1 to 2 year delay. Basically, the milestones will get shifted. We will continuously monitor the situation. Now, we were looking at Frankfurt and Paris and also Sydney in the new business plan in the next 2 to 3 years. So those will get readjusted. Tokyo was affected, but we are adding the 5th frequency this year as planned. What we'll do is that we will channel through Male. It's quite a lot. It's about 30%, but now we'll have to see what the numbers are going to be. But the good thing is we have seen the India relaxing the travel advisories, and so is China.
Gunathilaka also expressed views about the collapse of Jet Airways, which came about a few days prior to the Easter Sunday attacks.
It has helped us, to fly into. Our loads are good. In fact, that was one of the reasons why our Indian sector, we have been able to hold on to the passenger numbers.
The CEO of the national carrier then touched on the airline's fleet.
So wide-body replacement will happen since we are retiring the 200s, the old aircraft. So we will need new fleet added into the office. So basically we are looking at 330-900. Initial plan was to add them from 2021. There may be a change in milestones, but it will happen eventually. It will fall within the 5-year time frame. According to the business plan, we were looking at 19 narrow bodies by the end of year 5. Total fleet will go up to, according to the initial plan, supposed to go up to 34. That is 19 narrow bodies and 15 wide bodies. So
Microfinance sector is the second highest source of credit in Sri Lanka, with the central bank survey showing that 11% of borrowings are made from microfinance institutions, while most credit comes from formal banking institutions. Central bank officials, however, have identified that microfinance sector has started to deviate from its social responsibility and as a result has led to over-indebtedness and harassment of customers by its practitioners. This is why the Central Bank of Sri Lanka is pursuing the enactment of the proposed Credit Regulatory Authority Act, through which money lending and microfinance businesses will come under strict regulatory control. It is expected to protect customers and victims affected by unauthorized practices. The Centre for Banking Studies at the Central Bank, in collaboration with the Lanka Microfinance Practitioners Association, commenced a workshop for stakeholders of the microfinance sector recently.
We have identified that bringing the unregulated money lenders under a regulatory regime, increasing financial literacy and increasing awareness and capacity of the relevant stakeholders. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka, with the Ministry of Finance, initiated the enactment of a Credit Regulatory Authority Act, which would enable regulation of currently unregulated money lenders, provision of more comprehensive credit information, and provide for better coordination among different regulators. Licensed microfinance companies and registered microfinance NGOs, licensed and registered respectively under the Microfinance Act, would also be brought under the proposed authority. The Central Bank is in the process of formulating a national financial inclusion strategy focusing on consumer protection, SME finance, digital finance and payments, and financial literacy, which would be finalized within this year.
And now to bring you a market update, shares rose for a third straight session today to hit their highest close in nearly 5 months, led by a rally in banks. The all-share price index ended 0.85% up at 5,794.66, with a market turnover of 743.6 million rupees. Foreign investors sold a net 84.6 million rupees worth of shares today, and the year-to-date net buying stood at 1.39 billion rupees. We now have Hiruni Pereira from First Capital Holdings with a brief report on today's market performance.
Equity market continued the positive sentiment for third consecutive day, with the main gains made by Commercial Bank and HNB, while 31% of the turnover was contributed from the trades in commercial, spends and Sampat. Bond market yield curve remained broadly unchanged to close the day on a flat note, as most of the investors followed a wait-and-see approach, seeking a direction, while the overall market saw thin volumes during the day.
Shifting the focus to currency, Sri Lankan rupee ended 0.03% weak at 176 rupees and 15 to 25 cents against the US dollar, compared with yesterday's close of 176 rupees and 10 to 25 cents, as importer demand for the greenback outpaced the dollar selling by banks. Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. After this quick break, we take a look at what's happening overseas. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff say that North Korea fired 2 short-range missiles into the sea. They were launched over the sea earlier on today from Wonsan on North Korea's east coast. The South said that at least one of the missiles traveled around 690 kilometers and appeared to be a new design. It marks the first time North Korea has fired any missiles since leader Kim Jong-un's impromptu meeting with Donald Trump late last month. It also comes after anger from the North over planned military exercises between South Korea and the US, which is an annual event. The North warned they could affect the resumption of denuclearization talks. In a dramatic U.S. congressional testimony, former special counsel Robert Mueller said that he had not exonerated President Donald Trump of obstruction of justice and defended the integrity of his inquiry under repeated attacks by conservative Republican allies of the president. The former FBI director spent 22 months investigating what he concluded was a Russian interference in a sweeping and systematic fashion in 2016 U.S. election to help Trump and the president's conduct. Yesterday, he appeared for more than 3.5 hours before the House of Representatives Judiciary Committee.
But could you charge the president with a crime after he left office?
Yes.
You believe that you could charge the president of the United States with obstruction of justice after he left office?
Yes.
Ethically, under the ethical standards?
Well, I'm not certain because I haven't looked at the ethical standards, but the OLC opinion says that the prosecutor, while he cannot bring a charge against the sitting president, nonetheless he can continue the investigation to see if there are any other persons who might be drawn into the conspiracy.
U.S. President Donald Trump has vetoed resolutions in Congress which were geared to block the sale of $8.1 billion worth of weapons to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. Donald Trump said the three resolutions would weaken America's global competitiveness and damage its relationship with its allies. It comes after both chambers of Congress voted to prevent the sale. Some chambers of Congress say they feared the weapons could be used on civilians in the Yemen conflict. They have condemned Saudi Arabia's role in Yemen as well as last year's murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Now, with Sri Lanka set to take on Bangladesh tomorrow in a three-match one-day international series, the emphasis is very much on Sri Lanka's retiring Yorker specialist Lasith Malinga. Tomorrow's series opener is Malinga's last ODI match as he follows in the footsteps of Nuwan Kulasekara, who announced his retirement yesterday. Addressing a media briefing, Bangladesh captain Tamim Iqbal ventured his thoughts on the Sri Lankan icon.
The focus is on Lasith Malinga in this one-day international. And what is Bangladesh's plan, just to spoil his final farewell or what?
No, nothing like that. I think he has been a great ambassador of the game. A lot of young children, after watching him, has started playing cricket, not only in Sri Lankan cricket, but around the world. Back in Bangladesh, people wanted to bowl like him. When we were playing Sri Lanka, we used to find a similar action like Malinga, so we used to call him for net. So that kind of an impact he has given to world cricket. Yeah, it's a very special game for him tomorrow. But one thing is for sure that we will try to play as hard as possible and try to win a game for Bangladesh cricket. Whatever he has achieved for Sri Lanka and for world cricket has been phenomenal. I wish him all the success. Probably not so much tomorrow. I really don't like giving the tag to anyone who's favorite, who's not. Sri Lanka is a very good team, especially at home. They have played some really good cricket in World Cup too. You see the way they played against England was very good. Same goes for us.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.